I know that member is very excited about the year ahead. He shall have to wait and see when bills are going to be debated.
No petitions have been delivered for presentation. A paper has been delivered for presentation.
Report of the Ministry for the Environment on the January 2026 amendment to New Zealand's Second Emissions Reduction Plan 2026 to 2030 and the amendment addendum and technical annex.
That paper is published under the authority of the House. 2 Select Committee reports have been presented.
Report of the Education and Workforce Committee on the briefing on academic standards at universities. Report of the Finance and Expenditure Committee on the Reserve Bank of New Zealand Monetary Policy Statement, November 2025.
The reports are set down for consideration. No bills have been introduced. We come now to oral questions. The first in the name of the Honourable Carmel Sepuloni.
To the Minister for Auckland. Does he stand by his statement, quote, "A safe, thriving central city means more foot traffic, stronger business confidence, more jobs and more opportunities for everyone, including those currently experiencing hardship," end quote. If not, why not?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Simeon Brown.
In the context that was made, yes, Aucklanders deserve a safe and thriving city, and our focus is on economic growth and jobs, which also means restoring law and order through more police foot patrols, firm action against antisocial behaviour while providing support for those who need it. Auckland's CBD is the heart of New Zealand's economy, generating 8% of our country's GDP. And so when Auckland succeeds, New Zealand succeeds, and our government is getting on fixing the basics and building the future for our biggest city.
Is the National Homelessness Data Project correct that the number of homeless people in Auckland more than doubled in just the last year to over 940?
Well, Mr. Speaker, we're very focused on the issue of homelessness and making sure that we are addressing those challenges, working alongside the Honourable Tama Potaka. We are investing in more spaces for transitional housing and also more spaces to ensure that we are providing the housing first places in Auckland, and we've had remarkable success with many tenancies confirmed and filled since that funding was announced in September last year.
Supplementary. How many of the 207 housing first places in his Auckland action plan have been delivered and are filled?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm advised that providers have leased 143 rentals for the Housing First program in Auckland, of which 117 have been tenanted. 73 Housing First tenancies have also commenced in Auckland through existing contracts, meaning over 200 people have been housed in the last few months.
Why is he working on plans to kick homeless people out of the Auckland CBD when they have nowhere to go and after they have already been denied emergency housing by this government?
Oh, well, Mr. Speaker, that's almost a patsy question. We are focused on ensuring that we provide housing options for those who need it. We're also focused on ensuring that the businesses in our CBD have a safe place where they can operate their businesses, that people who come and work there, who live there, who visit our city centre can operate in a safe environment. We need to focus on improving safety. We also need to make sure that those who need support from the government have that support, and that's exactly what we're doing.
If there are 940 homeless people in Auckland, and he is only planning to build 207 additional Housing First places, where does he expect them to go when he kicks them out of the CBD?
Well, Mr. Speaker, we are focused on providing support, and the reality is we are contracting with Housing First providers. We're also ensuring that they are being held accountable for their existing contracts to make sure that they are filling the places they already have, to ensure that they have Housing First places. And we've made significant progress in the last few months. But what I'd say to the opposition is we are very focused on making sure our Auckland Central Business District is safe, it is welcoming to people who work there, who live there and who visit there, because we know how important it is to our economy, to jobs and opportunities in New Zealand, and we're focused on doing what's needed to fix the basics and build the future.
Supplementary. How will the constituents of Pakuranga, Botany, Epsom and Tāmaki feel when the CBD's homelessness issue is moved to their doorsteps?
Oh, Mr. Speaker, the people of Pakuranga are very happy with their local Member of Parliament and very happy with the work that he's doing. Of course, they always want me to work harder and to work more, so that's what I'm committed to doing. But what I would say is that the people of Botany are also very happy with their Prime Minister. And what we are doing is we're fixing the basics and building the future. We have funded additional places, we're filling those places, but we're also focused on improving safety in our biggest city. We have more police on the beat. We have a new police station in our central city. We are making sure that we're saving thousands and thousands fewer victimisations under this government. And I'll say the last thing, we're not having all the ram raids we used to have when your lot were in charge.
Good. Thank you. Question number 2, Rima Narkley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Health and asks, what recent announcements has he made about improving access to urgent care for South and East Aucklanders?
The Honourable Simeon Brown.
Mr. Speaker, our government is delivering improved access to urgent care for families right across New Zealand.
That's right, we are.
Earlier this month, I announced that South and East Aucklanders can now access urgent care at any time, with the
Great
county's Manukau after-hours service now operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is a significant milestone for people living in the county's Manukau district, which has been the only part of Auckland without a 24/7 after-hours service for several years. Families can now get help for urgent health issues at any time of day or night, helping to reduce wait times for patients in our emergency departments. It is all part of our plan to build a healthcare system that delivers healthcare closer to home when you need it.
Supplementary. What does this mean for patients in Counties Manukau and Middlemore Hospital's emergency department?
Mr. Speaker, delivering a new 24/7 service in Counties Manukau means patients can get timely urgent care when they need it, while also reducing wait times for patients at Middlemore Hospital's emergency department. I'm pleased to confirm that on the first overnight shift, I'm advised 33 patients were seen at the new 24/7 service in Counties Manukau, patients that may have otherwise presented to the emergency department. Overnight care is being delivered through a flexible workforce model, including doctors, nurse practitioners, nurses, paramedics and digital health support to ensure timely care. This is about putting patients first by giving families the care they need and reducing wait times for those who do need emergency department care.
Supplementary. What other improvements will East Aucklanders see to urgent care access?
Mr. Speaker, East Auckland will also benefit from expanded urgent care. From the 1st of March, East Care will extend its closing time from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m, while continuing to open from 7 a.m. following the closure of its extended 24/7 service in 2020. This means more Aucklanders can get the right care in the right place at the right time. These improvements across the county's Manukau district are part of our government's commitment to ensuring families can access timely urgent care when they need it close to home.
Supplementary. How does this announcement fit into the government's broader plan to improve urgent care access across New Zealand?
Mr. Speaker, this is part of our government's plan to ensure that 98% of New Zealanders live within an hour's drive of urgent care services. Alongside the new and expanded services already in place in Dunedin and Lower Hutt, further upgrades are planned for this year, including expansion of the urgent care services in Whangarei and Tauranga, expanded support for rural communities and extended daytime urgent care in Invercargill. This is about giving more communities timely access to urgent care and helping reduce wait times for patients at our emergency departments.
Question 3, Ricardo Mendes March.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Social Development and Employment. Is the civil defence payment available for people impacted by the severe weather events recognised by local states of emergency declared on 20 and 21st of January 2026? If not, why not?
The Honourable Louise Upston.
Mr. Speaker, the provision of civil defence payments is based on the advice of MSD, Civil Defence and local communities. I can confirm that MSD will be making civil defence payments in affected areas within Northland, East Coast and Bay of Plenty. Severe weather events are complex, often move fast, And the government's top priorities are, of course, finding accommodation for those who have lost their homes and getting supplies into communities that are cut off. I'm very proud of the government's response, and I'd like to put on record my thanks to all of the FENZ, police, ambulance, civil defence and other officials, communities and volunteers throughout the country that have been working so hard to support our affected communities.
Will she ask Working Income to take a high trust approach to the use of discretion when it comes to the delivery of civil defence payments? If not, why not?
Well, Mr Speaker, as I've just said in my answer to the first question, decisions are made about whether civil defence payments should be made based on the advice of those on the ground, the civil defence teams, the local communities and MSD. There is a set criteria for when those civil defence payments can be activated, and that's exactly what we do.
How will she ensure that low-income families who have been forced out of their homes or lost income due to not being able to work by this climate disaster and have not had access to the civil defence payment for over a week are now given the information and the financial support to recover?
Mr Speaker, I want to assure that member and those listening to this debate that, as I said in my primary, the first priority has been to provide accommodation to those who have been displaced from their homes. That number is now down to, I understand, within 100 to 150, which is why we have put the temporary accommodation service in place. And also now there are motorhomes in Northland and others coming to support those who are still without homes. Then, of course, the assistance to the civil defence teams in terms of food and emergency supplies continues, as well as hardship grants and other assistance that's available through MSD. The civil defence payment is another form of assistance that we have now activated in the 3 regions that I've mentioned.
What steps beyond issuing a press release will she be taking to ensure communities on the ground know what they are eligible for under the civil defence payment so that they can access the maximum amount that they may be legally eligible for?
Well, Mr Speaker, MSD have been on the ground working closely with civil defence from day one, and they are clear about people who require assistance. So even ahead of civil defence payments being granted, people are aware of what they can get through hardship grants, for example, and when the civil defence payment has been confirmed, which is today, for specified areas within those regions, the MSD teams, along with civil defence and others working on the ground to support communities, will of course advise people what they are eligible, how to access information, and I would encourage anyone in that situation to contact their local MSD office or to phone the 0800 number.
Does she accept that the value of the civil defence payment has eroded by nearly 40% since it was last updated in 2013? And if so, will she update the payment so that people can be adequately supported when they are affected by increasingly more common weather events?
Well, Mr Speaker, a significant component of the civil defence payment is tagged to what the job seeker benefit rate is, and that's of course increased every year.
Is that rate good enough for someone who is unable to work as a result of extreme weather events?
Sorry, I think that member said able to work. I think he meant unable to work. There are a number of criteria that someone would be eligible for the civil defence payment if they either are displaced from their home or actually if they can't move away from their home, as well as not being able to access their employment directly related to the civil defence emergency, and it is suitable that the job seeker benefit rate is what is used in that instance. There are, of course, other considerations, and which is why the civil defence payment is based on an individual circumstances. It is not only available for those on low income or benefits, it's available to anyone. And so MSD work really hard to work with that individual to understand their needs and provide support to them in that period of need.
Question number 4, the Honourable Dr Aisha Verrall.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Health. Does he stand by his statement that the Ministry of Health's review into the Manage My Health data breach will identify lessons to strengthen protections for patient data held by the private sector? If so, does Health New Zealand currently have a Chief Information Security Officer role dedicated to primary care?
The Honourable Simeon Brown.
Mr Speaker, in the context it was made, yes, patients expect their health data is held securely and they deserve to have assurances that this is the case whether in the private or public health care systems. I'm advised that Health New Zealand has a National Chief Information Security Officer who has responsibility for engagement and support for primary care. Support functions provided include the creation of a Health Security Information Security Exchange, a healthcare collaborative initiative that drives better security outcomes across primary care, a Health Information Security Framework providing small to medium-sized support guidance for primary care, and Health New Zealand Security Incident Guide specifically for primary care, and as we've seen in the case of the Manage My Health incident control support.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order. The Honourable Dr O'Shabir.
I asked about a specific dedicated role in my question. The Minister's answer identified that there was a National Chief Information Security Officer. He outlined responsibilities that that officer had, but it was not clear from his answer, which is a primary question on notice, whether or not that role was dedicated to primary care.
Well, I think the way he answered, the way I took it, was he said that there was such a person. So,
speaking to the point of order, Mr Speaker, and to...
Well, I'm not arguing with the Speaker now, but anyway, carry on.
That it was an ambiguous answer. It was totally possible...
Hang on, sorry, that's not a basis for asking others up.
Will the Minister confirm that that position is a single position dedicated to supporting the primary care sector with its information security needs?
Mr Speaker, I'm advised that that position has a number of responsibilities, one of which is to engage in support for primary care, as I outlined in the answer to the primary question.
Supplementary, why is he seeking lessons for how to strengthen protections for patients' data now, when the Ministry of Health advised back in 2021 that the government should build a core set of cybersecurity capabilities for the primary sector?
Mr Speaker, there's a range of investments that the government is continually making to improve in... Sorry? There's a range of investments the government is making into data security continuously, and we need to make sure we also learn the lessons from what happened with Manage My Health. That is why we've launched a review. That's why we have a terms of reference.
Is it correct that the role Chief Information Security Officer Primary Health Sector that existed in 2023 following the 2021 review was disestablished due to funding cuts in Budget 2024?
I'm advised there was a title of a role, and that in the position and the position, description and the roles and responsibilities exist within the function of primary care relationship manager, who exists within the which exists within.
There's only one minister answering.
The team of the National Chief Information Security Officer, and supports that individual with those responsibilities.
Supplementary, isn't it the case that in 2021 the Ministry had developed a plan for primary care cybersecurity? His government cut that plan, and now he is having to revert to work that should never have been cancelled in the first place.
Well, Mr Speaker, if the member's going to ask that question, I'd suggest she should also provide information.
Wait on. Sorry. We'll just calm it down so we actually can hear the answer.
Mr Speaker, if the member is going to ask that question, then I will also point out to the House that in 2023, the then government made reduction in health, data and digital foundations and innovations, which has an impact on data investment.
It sounds like the Minister is speaking to an issue that he didn't have responsibility for, and it would be great if he answered the question.
No, I'm sorry. When a minister is able to refer to matters that occurred beyond their time at the Ministry in order to give an answer, I couldn't judge whether or not it was appropriate or not, given the early intervention on the Minister's question. Please start the answer again.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the member needs to I would point out to the House in response to that question that the previous government made reductions in health, data and digital, foundations and innovations, and the 2023 August reduction in health and government expenditure, which of course has had an impact on data and digital investment in our healthcare system.
Question number 5. Question number 5, Ryan Hamilton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Tourism and Hospitality. What recent announcements has she made about supporting major events in New Zealand?
The Honourable Louise Upston.
Mr. Speaker, it's been swell for sure this week when we announced the World Surf League bringing its championship tour to New Zealand this year. Raglan's world-class left-hand point break has been selected to host the event, which will be the biggest elite surfing event ever hosted in New Zealand. This announcement is part of the government's events attraction package, which aims to bring high-value international events to New Zealand, attracting international visitors and stimulating the economy. Tourism and major events are a crucial part of our government's focus on building the future. More world-class events means more visitors, more jobs, and of course a growing economy.
Supplementary. What is the World Surf League Championship?
Mr. Speaker, the World Surf League Championship Tour is the premier top-tier professional surfing competition which has never been held here before. The New Zealand Pro will run from the 15th to the 25th of May this year, in which the top 36 men and the top 24 women will compete at the world-class left-hand point break at Raglan. Fans will be able to watch the world's most talented surfers compete, inspiring our budding young athletes and helping to grow the sport in New Zealand. The New Zealand Pro will also give a major tourism boost to the Waikato, with a large influx of competitors and spectators to the region and a global broadcast of the event, showcasing Raglan as a top surf destination internationally.
Supplementary. What benefits does she expect to see as a result of this announcement?
Mr. Speaker, we know that when major events come to town, the economic ripple is enormous. Hotels and motels fill up, the tills are ringing in our restaurants and cafes, and local businesses see a surge in the number of customers. International sports competitions and festivals don't just bring visitors, they bring life and energy to our towns and regions, creating vibrant communities and unforgettable experiences. The WSL Championship Tour is the fourth event announced under the events attraction package. There'll be more to say in coming weeks.
What feedback has she received on this announcement?
Mr. Speaker, we've had a wave of positive feedback. Surfing New Zealand CEO Ben Kenning said this is huge for New Zealand and we can't wait to host these best surfers in the world. It's going to be pretty spectacular. The Raglan Sunset Motel's Poppy Larkin said to the Waikato Times that normally the hotel wouldn't be busy in May, but the 24-room accommodation provider has already been booked out for the event. Raglan Surf Emporium co-owner John Clapham said it's been a pretty hard couple of years. So to have something like this in May, helping retailers through the winter months, is positive. Mr. Speaker, this announcement is already showing very positive signs and means we're building a reputation internationally as a world-class destination for sports, culture and entertainment.
Oh, very good. Just House will just settle for a minute. Second, the Honourable Willow Chen Prime, question 6.
Tēnā koe te manga e te whare. My question is to the Minister of Education and asks, does she stand by her statement that, quote, the numbers for the future are looking really good, unquote, in response to reports of a teacher shortage with 445 vacancies listed in the Education Gazette at the start of the school year, and if so, why?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable David Seymour.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Minister of Education, Erica Stanford, who's actually texted me some information to help answer this question.
Okay, that's enough.
The simple answer is yes, she absolutely stands by that statement, and for a number of reasons. The Ministry of Education forecasts that next year there will be a surplus of primary school teachers. By 2028 there will be a surplus of secondary school teachers. And this is due to a number of initiatives that the government has taken. For example, when the government started funding teachers' registration fees, 455 teachers who had previously not been registered returned to the workforce. I'd also note that a small minority of those advertised positions are for actual classroom teachers. In fact, only 31 of those are for permanent roles. A lot of the others are for positions such as teaching assistants, which the government has added to the workforce and is now seeking to hire people to fill. I also just note the premise of the question seems to be that it is a bad thing that there are jobs going in the education sector. If the Labor Party thinks that 445 jobs is the wrong number, presumably their goal is not for there to be no jobs going in education in New Zealand. If it's not zero and it's not 445, what exactly is it?
Supplementary. How are the numbers looking really good when the New Zealand Educational Institute polling data shows that 73% of primary school principals say they are likely to quit within 5 years?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I suspect that they are concerned about a change of government, but I want to say to those principals, have no fear. We are all working hard to keep these people over here and those people over there.
Supplementary. How are the numbers looking really good when vacancies are up 12% compared to this time last year?
Mr. Speaker, as I've mentioned, one of the reasons that there are vacancies is that we are creating new positions in education. The retention of teachers has remained around 90% where it has historically been. There are now more teachers in training than any time since 2009, up 30%.
Supplementary. How are the numbers looking really good when Auckland alone currently has 125 roles unfilled?
Mr. Speaker, as I've said, it is not necessarily a bad thing that there are positions available, particularly when we have record numbers in training, a forecast of a surplus of teachers, and when we have new positions being created to make the job of teachers easier. Of course, there will always be principals who are under pressure to fulfil roles. I know from my own role as a local MP, that is often a source of real pressure for principals. But if you look at the overall policies that this government is taking, they are in favour of boosting teacher supply and making it more attractive to teach. And as I say once more, the reason that there are a lot of positions is in part because we've created more positions.
Supplementary. Does she accept that an unmanageable workload, constant changes and the removal of pay equity have made things worse for schools trying to recruit and retain teachers?
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Education, no, I don't. Because what teachers want more than anything else is to help pass knowledge from one generation to the next and equip children to navigate the challenges of the 21st century. And what this government's done by having a real curriculum, by equipping teachers with skills that are boosting literacy rates by using the science of learning to actually teach children, that is what boosts teacher job satisfaction, getting results with leadership from a Minister of Education like Erica Stanford.
Question number 7, Tamatha Paul.
Tēnā koe te maanga ngā mahi o te tauhou. My pātai is for the Minister of Housing. Does the Minister support increasing housing supply to make housing more affordable? And if so, why is the Coalition considering weakening Auckland's housing targets?
The Honourable Tama Poto.
Te maanga o te whare. On behalf of the Minister of Housing, yes, this government is committed to boosting housing supply in Auckland, Tamaki Makaurau, as well as being responsive to Aucklanders. We are also considering a range of options around housing capacity targets for Auckland, and the Minister of Housing will have more to say soon. No decisions have been made.
Does he agree with the Chief Economist of Auckland Council that, quote, an abundance of capacity also increases competition among landowners, which can help to moderate price pressures, unquote? And if so, why is he comfortable reducing that abundance of capacity?
It's Manga o Te Whare. Various experts and people have a range of views, but no decisions have been made at this time on capacity in Auckland. We are absolutely committed to boosting housing supply in Auckland.
Would weakening Auckland's housing targets and the supply of housing in Auckland make housing more or less affordable in our biggest city than continuing with Plan Change 120?
E te manga o te whare. As we are aware, affordability is influenced by a number of factors, but our commitment is to increase housing supply in Tāmaki Makaurau, albeit we are continuing to consider the capacity for Auckland.
Does he agree with the MP for Epsom that intensification and an increase in supply would mean, quote, looking into everyone's backyards and their swing sets and their pools, unquote, and if not, why?
Point of order, the Honourable David Seymour.
Actually, my comments are being misrepresented, and I think it's unfair for the member to have to ask a question that's actually based on misrepresenting a member.
It is.
Well, just let me hear the question again. Sorry.
Does he agree with the MP for Epsom that intensification would mean, quote, looking into everyone's backyards and their swing sets and their pools, unquote, and if not, why?
Well, I think firstly you just had the member for Epsom say that's not the context in which the comment was made. So a bit like yesterday, see if you can reword that a different way.
So I'm rewording that same question, Mr. Speaker?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just, no one else is speaking, by the way.
Does he agree with the MP for Epsom's criticism of changes to Plan Change 120 and the process that intensification would mean, quote, looking into everyone's backyards and their swing sets and their pools, unquote, and if not, why?
E te manga o te whare. I'm not aware that the erudite MP for Epsom has made those comments or the context in which those comments were made. But what I am aware, and it's good to know, that there are more first home buyers right now in the New Zealand market, and first highest in the last 20 years as reported in the December 25 quarter. And I'm absolutely pleased to also see rentals become more affordable across Aotearoa New Zealand.
Supplementary question, the Honourable David Seymour.
Does the Minister read the news properly? And if so, would he agree with my comments in their correct context that people in central Auckland are generally in favour of intensification, but they want to ensure it's done well, such as not having people looking in their swing sets or backyards?
E te manga o te whare. Thank you for that question. Absolutely agree that we would like to see Auckland grow up and out and in a proper way, ultimately with local decision making.
Just wait till the House settles itself and all those who are offering opinions decide that it's not a good idea to do so. The Honourable, Tamatha Paul.
How can he claim to be committed to increasing housing supply and housing capacity when his record is shaping up to be enabling fewer homes in Auckland and stopping Kāinga Ora from increasing their public housing supply?
E te manga o te whare, and on behalf of the Minister of Housing, as I've said today 3 times, this government is absolutely committed to increasing the housing supply in Tāmaki Makaurau, Auckland. Capacity, which is distinctly different to supply, is a matter that we have not yet made decisions on. But our approach is to enable Auckland to build up and out where it makes sense and where capacity is more likely to be turned into actual houses, like around key CRL stations.
The Honourable David Seymour.
Can the Minister foresee any scenario where Auckland is left with a housing capacity lower than the 900,000 in the Auckland Unitary Plan when the government came to office.
It's a mile, it's a whare. I don't want to get too far in front of myself about what will actually happen in the great city of Tāmaki Makaurau, Auckland, but we are absolutely clear. No decisions have been made on capacity at this time, and we will continue to support, advocate and rally for more supply and ultimately to support Auckland. Up and out.
What's more embarrassing? Cabinet's overruling his recommendation, meaning that...
Hold on. You may want to ask those questions, but do so to yourself without disturbing the rest of the House. Tamatha Paul, start again.
Thanks. What's more embarrassing? Cabinet overruling his recommendations, meaning that council zone for less housing, supply and realisable capacity, or I'm going to start that again. What's more embarrassing? Cabinet overruling his recommendations, meaning that council zone for less housing and less realisable housing capacity than under the medium density residential standards, or the Prime Minister making him weaken Auckland's housing targets altogether.
It's Maangon Whare, and on behalf of the Minister of Housing in this House, I am not the judicial officer on embarrassment.
Would the Minister consider it more embarrassing to mindlessly read questions off a script, or not be able to mindlessly read questions off a script?
Much as he answered, he's got no responsibility for the previous question. He has none for that either. Move now to question number 9. Number 8, Tim Vandermolen.
Thank you.
But just wait for the House to reduce its overall commentary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Trade and Investment. What recent announcements has he made about strengthening New Zealand's relationship with India?
The Honourable Tom McLeay.
Well, Mr. Speaker, on the 22nd of December, we announced the conclusion of a landmark comprehensive free trade agreement with India that cuts tariffs on 95% of our exports. It means 57% of New Zealand's exports will be tariff-free on day one, rising to 82% once fully enforced. We get tariff-free access for sheep meat, wool, wood products and timber, seafood, many industrial goods and much more, significant reductions for wine, and tariff-free and reduced rate access for quotas of kiwi fruit, apples, manuka, honey. First time India has done that. Mr. Speaker, India is a population of 1.4 billion people and an economy forecast to reach 12 trillion New Zealand dollars by 2030. We are a country of just 5 million people. This FTA offers significant and substantial advantage to our exporters and is a very good deal for our country. Finally, Mr. Speaker, it's one of the best FTAs India has concluded with any country, and gives our exporters advantages over Australia and the UK and their FTAs, and also the EU FTA that was concluded just this week.
Supplementary question. Does the FTA with India give rights of migration or immigration to Indian nationals?
Mr. Speaker, no, it categorically does not. To meet skills shortages in our economy, it allows 1,667 highly skilled workers, for instance, healthcare professionals, engineers, IT experts, drawn from the New Zealand Skills Shortage Green List to apply for a 3-year temporary work permit. They must meet all of the conditions set by New Zealand, professional standards, good conduct, a job offer from an accredited employer, and at the end of the 3 years, they must return home. The FTA does not give them rights for family members to travel with them. It also focuses on attracting Masters and PhD students to New Zealand. They will have post-study work rights, as every student who studies in New Zealand does, and be able to work for 20 hours per week when studying. Currently, students are able to work for 25 hours. It does not remove a cap on the number of students that can come to New Zealand, because there is not a cap. But it also does not restrict future governments from creating a cap should they wish to. Mr. Speaker, the FTA does not restrict the ability for the FTA does not restrict the ability for future and current governments to modify work visas or student policies or settings.
Supplementary. Does the FTA commit New Zealand to invest money in India?
I'll ask you to start the question again when everyone has stopped talking.
Supplementary question. Does the FTA commit New Zealand to invest money in India?
Mr. Speaker, no, it does not. New Zealand is open to investment, and New Zealand companies do very well when they invest overseas. This agreement makes it easier for them to invest in India and gives them rights in that market. The agreement includes an aspirational target for New Zealand to promote up to $20 billion worth of private investment into India over 15 years, signalling our shared ambition to deepen commercial ties as India's economy expands. We have committed to promote this investment only. For Kiwi businesses, stronger two-way investment means greater access to growth sectors, more scope for joint ventures and increased confidence to expand, while also encouraging Indian investors to see New Zealand as a high-value, stable destination to invest.
Supplementary. What is this agreement worth in terms of financial benefit and job creation?
Well, Mr. Speaker, early estimates are that this agreement will be worth an additional $1 billion in New Zealand exports each year for the next 20 years and will deliver tens of thousands of jobs to our economy. It also is future-proofed. The EU-India FTA announced this week includes better access for wine and many services than our agreement concluded last year. We have agreed with India in the FTA a most favoured nation provision. That means if our FTA enters into force before the EU one does, then we will get the same reduction of tariffs for those wines and other access for services that the EU has negotiated. We've also future-proofed the agreement to ensure that we are never worse off, so that 12 months after entry into force, we will commence discussions to improve the agreement with India on an ongoing basis. Can I take a moment of the House's time to thank the officials in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for their exceptional work. These are the same officials that negotiated the EU and the UK FTA, and they have done a remarkable job on behalf of every New Zealander.
Question number 9, Jenny Addison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Economic Growth and asks, does she agree with the Minister of Finance's July 2024 statement that, quote, cost of living relief is on its way, end quote? If so, why?
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable David Seymour.
Oh, for many years I was, but now I have many friends. Hello, I see that member go in the opposite direction. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister for Economic Growth, yes, absolutely. For example, since that comment was made, mortgage rates have fallen for New Zealanders up and down the country, meaning that they are paying less on interest and have more money left at the end of the week. It's also the case, and it's interesting to look at the changes in non-tradable inflation. Around the time of that comment, non-tradable inflation, that is inflation within New Zealand, was 4.9%. It has since come down to 3.5%. That's important because it's something that the government can control. And right across the board, we've been managing our own spending, we've been cutting red tape, we've been increasing efficiency in the New Zealand economy so that prices come down. However, it is true that over the same period, tradable inflation, that is inflation largely influenced by overseas, has increased from minus 1.6 up to 2.6. So we've had a 1.4% drop in local inflation and a 3.2% increase in tradable inflation over that period.
Why did she claim in July 2024 that, quote, cost of living relief is on its way, end quote, when in the past year food costs have risen 4%, while minimum wage has risen just 1.5%?
Mr. Speaker, I'd just like to correct an earlier answer. It's not 3.2% that tradable inflation rose over that period, but 4.2. My mental arithmetic wasn't as sharp as it should be there. But in relation to the question about food prices, it's certainly true that food prices have continued to rise. That has been in part driven by the fact that commodities New Zealand farmers sell on the world stage, such as dairy and meats, have been appreciating keenly in recent times, and that has been very good for New Zealand farmers, and particularly rural New Zealand. However, that doesn't mean that the increases in food prices don't affect New Zealand households. I would point out that they have risen much, much slower than they were when the previous government was in place. Around that time, I seem to recall food price inflation as high as 12%.
How are Kiwis meant to believe that cost of living relief is coming when unemployment is up, wages are failing to keep up, and record numbers of New Zealanders are leaving because they cannot afford to live in this country under her government?
No, you can't make that final statement. So just do the question again without the assertion at the end.
How are Kiwis meant to believe that cost of living relief is coming when unemployment is up, wages are failing to keep up, and record numbers of New Zealanders are leaving New Zealand?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I would say that people are meant to believe that by looking at what we can control and what we can't control. As I mentioned, the New Zealand government, powerful as it may be, cannot control 4.2% tradable inflation that has washed up on our shores since that initial comment was made. We can, however, control our own activities. And so I would counsel people to believe when you have a government that's very careful with its own spending, that gets interest rates down, that leaves families and firms with more money at the end of the week to pay wages and grow jobs, that is a good thing. And the choice for New Zealanders really is, do you want competent adults in the room looking after their money carefully on the Treasury benches, or perhaps something else that they're going to increasingly think, what was that like again? Not so good.
Are wages keeping up with the cost of living when white bread has gone up 58.3% in the past year?
Mr. Speaker, first of all, on a personal note, can I counsel the member to consider wholemeal? It is healthier.
More expensive.
Also more expensive, but then you could also economise on it in the volume you eat. Now, the next thing I would say is that we have to be very, very careful when we take one commodity to try and measure productivity. The simple fact is that New Zealand has faced a serious challenge with raising productivity that actually goes back across multiple governments. It's productivity that drives real wages, how much people produce and can take home. If we're going to improve productivity, then what do we need to do? Well, we need to cut red tape, we need to get more investment so workers have more capital, we need more skills with better education. Those are the things that drive real wage growth over decades, and they're exactly the things that this government is investing in, rather than the sugar hit politics that people got a little tired of, because like white bread, it may be sweet, but it doesn't last.
How much should New Zealanders pay for a loaf of bread?
Mr. Speaker...
Sorry, no, hang on. I'm going to rule that question out.
But I want to answer this one.
I know you might want to answer it, but no. Without losing the number of questions, try again.
Does he think the tactic of telling New Zealanders that the cost of living is improving when clearly it's not is working? Or is it just further proof that she and Christopher Luxon are way out of touch?
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister for Economic Development, what I've been saying on these answers is that the world does actually have more than one factor to consider. And while there are challenges, and those have eventuated in part from that figure I gave, 4.2% uptick in the rate of inflation coming from tradables or overseas, they can also separate, is this government making choices with the regulations and the rules and the money and the investment in social services like education? People can separate those things out, and they can see that while there are real challenges, this government is doing the work to fix what matters and ensure that our future is going to be brighter because of the decisions that we make. Rather than sloganeering, we actually are doing the policy work to make our country better.
Does the Minister understand that food prices going up faster than wages mean that New Zealanders are worse off because his government is failing to take real action on the cost of living?
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Economic Development, yes, there is no question that inflation has been a real challenge. When it peaked in 2022, it was 7.2%. When we took office, it was 5.6%. Today, it's 3.1%. So yes, it is a serious challenge. But if you want to evaluate the effect of this government, we have made serious progress at getting inflation under control to solve precisely the question that the member purports to care about. And I don't want to get political, but we're doing a much better job of it than you did.
Question 10, Dr. Vanessa Winnick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Mental Health and asks, what recent announcements has he made about mental health co-response teams?
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Matt Ducey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our mental health plan is delivering faster access to support, more frontline workers and a better crisis response. I recently announced the first 4 new mental health co-response teams, which will be launched in Canterbury, Auckland City, Bay of Plenty and Counties Manukau. To improve mental health outcomes, I want to ensure when people call 111 in a time of mental health crisis, they get a mental health response rather than a criminal justice one. Budget 2025 invested $28 million to roll out mental health co-response teams across the country. To deliver a better crisis response, we want to ensure there is someone to call, someone to respond and somewhere to go.
Supplementary. What is a co-response team?
Good question, Mr. Speaker. One of my top priorities is a better crisis response for all New Zealanders. Co-response teams pair up mental health workers with frontline police to respond to mental health call-outs. They offer people experiencing a mental health crisis the support they need on the spot and faster access to the most appropriate services. Police do an excellent job in our communities, but the bottom line is they are not mental health professionals. That is why we are overhauling the way emergency services respond to 111 calls for people experiencing mental distress.
What evidence is there that co-response teams led to a better crisis response?
Mr. Speaker, an evaluation of the pilot in Wellington found there was a reduction in the use of POWs under the Mental Health Act. Fewer people needed to go to an emergency department or police station, and the level of wraparound support increased. Importantly, I heard from advocates, those with lived experience and families, that having a uniformed police officer turn up during the time of mental health need can be distressing. The previous National Government announced co-response teams in 2017, but the funding was cut in 2018 under Labor. This government believes these co-response teams are a real game changer, and it's disappointing we had to wait 6 years to get them.
What other actions is the government taking to create a better crisis response?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think you'll agree it's long overdue for a better crisis response in New Zealand. Crisis response teams build on the work already done, including a 60-minute handover between police and patients in ED, as well as 30-minute transfers from the police custody suite to a mental health facility. We've also announced a $61 million boost to crisis response, which includes 40 additional frontline clinical workers in our crisis and assessment teams and 2 new 10-bed acute alternative facilities to reduce inpatient ward admissions. When someone takes a brave step to reach out, whether it's you, your child, a friend or a family member, this government is committed to ensuring the right support is always there to answer that call.
Question number 11, Maria Mino Kapakingi.
Tēnā koe te pika. To the Minister for Emergency Management and Recovery, does the Minister intend for the Emergency Management Bill number 2 to establish funding to support community and marae preparedness to respond to extreme weather emergencies?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Simeon Brown.
On behalf of the Minister for Emergency Management and Recovery, as the member will be aware, this is a regulatory piece of legislation, not a funding bill. There has been wide consultation with communities, iwi and opposition, and I welcome the member's further engagement through the Select Committee process. As the member will also be aware, the Government has already made support available to respond to the recent extreme weather events, with $1.2 million in funding for mayoral relief funds and $1 million funding for Marae, who have provided support in the response.
Supplementary. Why does the Emergency Management Bill number 2 rely on marae and iwi to support emergency response without establishing dedicated upfront funding for preparedness and response capacity?
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Emergency Management and Recovery, this bill is around setting in place a new regime in terms of how we respond to emergencies in New Zealand. It takes the lessons from the Cyclone Gabrielle and other weather events and also ensures that there is a strengthened role for communities and iwi in these events by giving them a place at the decision-making table. The Government continues to make investments into our marae, who do play an incredibly important role in our emergency response, whether that's in terms of resilience projects, whether that's in terms of energy projects or flood resilience. That is further investments we make across government to support the role that marae play in our emergency response.
Supplementary. Does the Minister consider it equitable for marae in Te Tai Tokerau to be relied on for emergency response without the same baseline public funding provided to other parts of the emergency management system, and if so, why?
On behalf of the Minister for Emergency Management and Recovery, the Government recognises the important role that marae play in responding to emergencies. That's why we continue to provide funding for a range of projects to strengthen the resilience and support the work that marae play. Also, as I said in the answer to the primary question, we've also made $1 million available to reimburse marae for the work that they did responding to last week's weather events.
Supplementary. Thank you, Mr Speaker. What amendments, if any, does the Minister intend to make to the bill following the extreme flooding in Te Tai Tokerau to strengthen marae and iwi preparedness before emergencies occur?
On behalf of the Minister for Emergency Management and Recovery, the bill is going through a process. Ultimately, we'll be listening to the submissions, but we continue to make sure that we also learn from all weather events to improve our response. We're incredibly proud of the response of emergency management, civil defence, and also all of the first responders who played an incredibly important role, and also those who are still working so hard right now to reconnect communities across this country following last week's weather event.
The Honourable Tama Potaka.
Can the Minister please confirm that 10 motorhomes have arrived in Whangarurua, Northland to help support those whānau that are in need as a result of the severe weather emergency over the last few days, and that further vehicles are now being transported or are coordinated to be transported to Hicks Bay and Te Araroa, two other locations of significant weather events?
Well, given the public interest, it might be worth answering, but it's a long way from the primary question.
On behalf of the Minister for Emergency Management and Recovery, I can confirm that is the case and that the Minister, Honourable Tama Potaka, is very much driving to that to be done as quickly as possible.
Question 12, Shannon Halbert.
Mr Speaker, question to the Minister for Vocational Education. How many young people in New Zealand were not engaged in education, employment or training for the September 2025 year compared to the September 2023 year?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Penny Simmons.
Mr Speaker, I've been advised by Stats New Zealand that at year-end September 2023, there were 74,300 young people aged 15 to 24 not engaged in education, employment or training. At year-end September 2025, there were 90,000 15 to 24-year-olds not engaged in employment, education or training. That is an increase of 15,700 15 to 24-year-olds not in education, employment or training in September 25 compared to September 23.
Supplementary. Are there more or fewer young people enrolled in Level 1 and Level 2 vocational qualifications than there were 2 years ago?
Well, I'm very pleased that the member has asked me that question, because getting efficiencies often brings about really good results. So the delivery, the single data return in 2023 compared with that in August 2025 against youth guarantee programs and delivery of qualifications at levels 1 and 2, foundation programs, while there were less tertiary providers in August 25, 80 versus 84 in 23. There were in fact more students, more learners, 31,510 learners in August 25 compared to 26,610 in 2023.
Supplementary. Are there more or fewer New Zealanders enrolled in apprenticeships than there were 2 years ago?
Mr. Speaker, one of the very sad facts of unemployment being higher than we would like it is that young people are disproportionately affected by that. Now, that is not a condition unique to New Zealand, Mr. Speaker, according to the recent OECD report. So, of course, as we bring the economy into recovery, it takes longer for the youth unemployment to reduce. However, Mr. Speaker, I know that the member asking the question will be delighted to know that Stats New Zealand just today released the figures that total export valued at $80.7 billion occurred in the year ending December 2025. That is the first time ever New Zealand has had that value of exports, Mr. Speaker, and I can confirm that those exports were driven by a very important primary sector, Mr. Speaker, and so it is incredibly important that we have our polytechnics focused on meeting the needs of industry which drive our economy.
Supplementary. Do young people in New Zealand have greater or fewer opportunities to pursue vocational education and training than they did 2 years ago?
Well, Mr. Speaker, there are less courses being run because that's what occurs when you seek efficiencies, when you put local people from the community in charge of running local polytechnics. They know what industries and the local community needs. They gain efficiencies from that, and then they look at what the industries are that are driving an $80.7 billion export value, and they target the courses to ensure those industries get the graduates that they need.
Supplementary. How long will it take for her to realise that 90,000 young people not in employment, in education or training is because she has no plan, which leaves them no choice but to go to Australia?
No, look, we've got to tidy these things up a little bit. That question sits well outside of what's acceptable for a question. Just try and reword it a different way.
What is the Minister's plan? What is the Minister's plan to address the 90,000 young people not engaged in employment, education in this country to ensure that they don't go offshore to Australia?
Well, Mr. Speaker, as I have already outlined, that these conditions are not unique to New Zealand, according to a recent OECD report. Those that are young are the more disproportionately impacted with high unemployment. That is the result of an economy that had been crashed by the previous government and this...
Sorry. Just as you can't have the suppositions that were in the previous question, nor can you have that in an answer. So give a straight answer and finish the session.
Mr. Speaker, the $80.7 billion total export value shows that we are getting industries back that are growing and are able to then employ young people. That is why we are so concentrated on ensuring that our economy grows so that our young people can be employed. That is why the polytech sector is getting back to basics of meeting the needs of their community so that they can provide graduates who grow the economy and provide opportunities for young people.
That concludes oral questions. We'll take 30 seconds for those who have to go to other House business to leave the House quietly and without conversations on the way.